Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're nice and awake after a big night last night. I am Carrie Parker. I'm Chief Marketing Officer at Brandwatch. Brandwatch is a consumer intelligence and social media company, and we help thousands of brands with their data-driven social strategies and fabulous brands like Meta. And I am joined by Shayla Cole, who leads culture and community intelligence at Meta. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hi, good morning. Very excited to be here. As Carrie mentioned, I'm Shayla Cole. I lead up our social intelligence practice at Meta, where we look at community insights and culture trend research for the Meta portfolio of brands.
Fabulous. Okay, so let's start with sort of an overview of culture trends. So how do you approach culture trends at Meta, and why is that important to the work you do?
Yes. So I always kind of describe it as a mix of art and science. So it's a little bit, you need to know how to set it up. You need to be statistically sound, but there's also a little bit of the art and the magic in it, and knowing where to look, knowing what rocks to turn to find the right answers to the right questions. And then it's a little bit of a mix. Like, we look at what's happening right now, but also what's been happening for the last year, for the last 3 years to get us to this moment. And then what can we learn about that? And what can we take from that to see what's going to happen next? So it's a little bit of both. And it's really important because, when you're a large brand like Meta and you have a lot of different offerings, from WhatsApp to Messenger to Marketplace, and we're trying to offer that to a lot of different people, it's really important for us to have, to ground it in something and to be able to quiet the noise and really find something that's going to have impact and resonate with our audience. So we find that this approach and really looking at the data helps us do that.
That's amazing. I think a lot of people think of data and heavy analysis as almost antithetical to creativity, but you use it as a springboard to really building some creative endeavors, right?
Yes. I also think that, focus is freedom. And, imagine if we all landed here in Cannes and then they were like, go to your hotel with no GPS. And you would just kind of be lost. You would be twisting around. It would take you double the time. And I think that the data really gives you a GPS. It gives you some lines to color in, and really create work that is going to resonate stronger. So it's actually the opposite. It doesn't hold you back. It unlocks a world of creativity.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about Meta for a minute. So you've gone through a pretty big evolution from Facebook to Meta, and that required a lot of education around the metaverse. So talk to me a little bit about your approach there and what that journey was like, and how that led you to the Are We There Yet campaign.
Yes. So maybe about a year into my time at Meta, we had this really small task of changing the company from Facebook company to Meta. And we continue to make a big bet on the metaverse, and other AI technology. So we had a lot, and that was a large task for us. We had a lot to uncover, because if you ask anybody about the metaverse, the second question would be well, what is that? Is that really a thing? And that was kind of our task, was to help people understand what the metaverse is, where it's at right now, because realistically, it's not built yet. It's not done yet, and we're still on the way. So as we're on the way to that journey, it kind of brought out this campaign of, are we there yet? And how can we ask questions to understand where we are right now and where we're going on this journey of the metaverse, and to bring that to everybody and to communicate it in a way that everybody can understand and everybody can resonate with.
That's great. So it's about educating and taking them on this journey, and I guess part of that is you've got to find the right people to help land the message. And
Yes.
so talent is very important. We work together clearly to help you on that journey, but tell me a little bit about your process for identifying the right talent behind Are We There Yet?
Yes. So, we were taking a really big, kind of ambiguous topic and trying to explain it to a large audience. So the main thing that we wanted to do there is find a relatable voice to sort of drive that. We didn't want to just talk to people who are super into tech, who know the space. We wanted to talk to people out in the world and really land it in culture. So we had to find the right face. And that was actually a lot more challenging than you would think, because there's a lot of intrinsic biases that come with a team. We all show up to work every day with a different perspective. If we open up our feeds, we all see different people. with different algorithms. Some of us are in cleaning talk, some of us are in cat talk. It's like the sphere of influence that you're exposed to is different for everybody. So we wanted to figure out a way to find talent that was going to resonate, going to help us communicate this really large, confusing topic. But also somebody who was a little bit on the rise. We're a brand who celebrates creators, who wants to build creators up. So we wanted to find somebody who wasn't maybe super large right now, but was on their way up. So we worked with you guys to create a system to do that in data and not just sort of opinion, but to really quantify it, quantifying something that's qualitative in nature. So that's what you
Which
guys
is
do.
hard. It's hard, but that's what we do. And so tell me a little bit more about the scoring and how you thought about that forward-looking element, which I think is really important to be able to forecast who's on the rise and what's going to have a little bit more enduring relevance.
Yes. So part of that was, we talk about this a lot of like trends versus trendy. Somebody who's hot right now, who's big right now. So I think that's like more on the trendy side. But then when you zoom out and you look at the story, like what happened before and what can you see around what's going to happen next, you can really get to that trends. So we sort of did that approach for finding the talent. So we looked at not only their follower count right now, but how much have they grown in the last 6 months. So some of the names that we picked were really large right now, but they've only grown like 1%, 5% in the last 6 months. And we wanted somebody who was on the rise so that by the time this campaign landed, they would be big and they would be really culturally relevant. So we're trying to get a step ahead. And then we also wanted to make sure that they were relevant in the topic sphere. So we were talking about the metaverse and we were talking about AR, VR, and all these like large topics. So we wanted to also pick somebody who had some skin in the game in that topic already. And then we also wanted it to be global. So we were talking to a global audience and we wanted to see who has that global impact. Because some people are really large in the US or they're really large here in France. But we wanted somebody who had that mix. So together, no one pieces of that information is like enough to tell the full story. So it was the collection of those together and we created a scorecard that sort of allowed us to vet talent against all those different criteria.
And so, drum roll, the talent you selected was?
We went with Keke Palmer, which was such an unexpected choice for us, but it was amazing.
Well, and I think to your point, like she has only taken off further since you chose her for that campaign. So clearly there was a lot behind the choice and what went into her. And she's here today, I think, speaking this afternoon.
She's speaking here. She was in the Buzz Lightyear movie. She was in Jordan Peele's Nope. So she's really taken off since we first identified her to be the face of this campaign.
I think that underscores your point on identifying those that have more enduring meaning versus just the flash in the pan trends. And I think that that's her how popular she is now has only spoken to that. So.
Yes, absolutely.
And any insight into who you didn't choose, or do you prefer not to go there on?
We won't name names, but I think the cool thing is that we vetted over 16 different talents from all different spheres of influence, all different backgrounds, and they weren't apples to apples. It wasn't like they were all actresses or all musicians or all artists. So it was also really important for us to get this scorecard right because we were not comparing apples to apples. Like we were talking about completely different people. And some of the people were big right now, again. So it's sort of like getting over that hurdle of when leadership wants to hear a recommendation, they want the big flashy names that are big right now. So it was a really beautiful experience to kind of like, we're going to run all these people through the same criteria and see how they net out. And the criteria was based on our goals. So it's sort of indisputable at that point.
Well, and clearly the campaign has done well. You won a shorty. Congratulations on that. Pretty recent news.
Thank you.
So talk to me about how the response to the campaign has been both inside and outside of Meta.
Yes. I mean, we have like the big stats where I think the campaign has been viewed over 25 million minutes, which is something like 47 years worth of time people have spent with this content. But bringing it back to sort of my world in social listening, one of the biggest wins I think came out of this campaign was an increase in neutral conversation. So that doesn't automatically read as like oh, that was so amazing. But like the goal of the campaign was to engage our audiences and to get them to ask questions about this topic that was very sort of, people were on both sides of the fence about it. So for people to be curious, for people to want to see more, for people to be excited to see their favorite, creators on the face of this, all of that was success. Like our community really resonated with it. And then we made another season. So it was successful enough for us to do a season 2.
It's tremendous. Just a kudos to you on that. I think what you just said, though, underscores another point that I think anyone who's in marketing or in any creative field, you often have challenges getting bold new ideas and new creative ventures off the ground, and getting that buy-in internally can be really hard unless you have a really fierce champion internally and some numbers to back it up. So tell me a little bit about how you've sold some things in and what the process has been like for you there.
Yes. I mean, I think it's really the first step is to get your team, your leadership bought into the idea that like your community, like listen to what they want, listen to what your community is saying. You don't have to start from zero. You don't have to guess what they want. You don't have to, it's not a guessing game. They're out there every day talking about what they want on their social, out in the world, in their feeds. They're telling us what they want in a really clear way. So I think like getting leadership to see that, to ground it in that, to show with numbers, with proof why a talent is relevant, why this topic is going to resonate, really helps. And then also convincing them to take a leap of faith, because every trendy moment that happens, every trends that happen, they didn't happen, before. So it's sort of, they're all new. So it's also convincing them the idea that like we do have to take a risk, and like to do something new you're going to have to take a risk, but also we can lessen that risk by listening to the community and paying attention to the human behaviors that we're seeing in this space, and like by looking at the data and like making that bet a little bit safer.
The power of social intelligence in action. Yes. For sure. Okay, so season 2, it's locked. What else do you have coming out that you might want to give people a preview into?
Yes, actually we just had an exciting week last week. So we launched a new campaign. We're really inviting our audiences to get reacquainted with our suite of brands. So, get reacquainted with how our brands allow you to sort of shape your world, to really build your world. So we have a campaign called It's Your World right now. And it's all about listening to the community. We're like listening to the ways that they use our platforms, what they want to see from it, how our platforms empower them. And this campaign is designed to be a reflection of that, to dive into subcultures that are relevant to them, and to listen to them and to do exactly what we convinced them to do. We're already there yet. This is like a beautiful iteration of that.
It's a continuation of your success. It's great. I love it. So any last tips that you'd like to share on how to approach culture trends, how to use social intelligence, or just tips in general to spark creativity?
Yes. I mean, the biggest thing I want to land is that there's so much data out there, and just having the data is not enough. You need to know which questions to ask. We always talk about how great questions lead to great answers. So it's sort of like start with your question and what you're trying to achieve, and then create a model that answers that question. So I think it's easy to go for metrics like likes or, all these big flashy things, reach. But it's like, look at the goal of your campaign and create a structure and like a scalable, repeatable format that answers that question. And then test it out. And then once you do that right, you don't have to keep recreating the wheel. Like create a framework around that. I would say, just to reiterate, listen to your community, because they often tell us what we want. We spend a lot of money trying to figure out what they want when the answer is right there. And then what was the last one? I lost my last one, but I think I'll leave it there.
I think that's a pretty good one to end on. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciated it. And thank you guys.
Thank you.